Alright, hello. This is a first for my channel, I believe, but Bloons Tower Defense 6. It's a game I play, and here's a video about it. So yeah, this is a run of a fairly difficult map on the hardest difficulty, Black Border, which basically the way this works is this is the hardest game mode where there's a lot of like restrictions, such as you cannot sell any towers, you cannot leak anything, you only have one life, and you don't have like monkey knowledge, which is just like a perk tree that makes a bunch of stuff easier. So it can be pretty difficult. And also, really the huge one is you can't get any extra income. In every other game mode, you can just, like, use farms to get extra money and, like, cheese anything easily, basically, but you can't do that here, and that's, like, the entire reason why this game mode is, like, the hardest one, basically. What Black Border means is, because this game does have a, like, save system, you can just, like, pause and exit to home and just go back into the round you left off. You can still do that on the hardest game mode, and it kind of just makes it like cheese. You can kind of just cheese everything, because if you see you're about to leak something, you just pause and exit to home and retry the round. So you can still do that and like beat the mode, but the devs added like an extra reward if you clear CHIMPS mode without ever exiting to home. You get a shiny black badge, and it's obviously a lot harder to do it Black Border because you are not allowed to make any mistakes ever. You just have to have a good strategy from the get-go and do it all in one attempt. So yeah, I certainly have a bit of history with this map. This map right here is called Mesa, or Mesa, I think you pronounce it Mesa or something, I don't really know. But yeah, this is a map where, like, a long-ass time ago, probably, like, over 200 hours of BTV6 playtime ago, I was like, yeah, let's do Mesa Chimps. This should be, like, a good, fun challenge. Yeah, that's not really how that went. I did, way back then, get a, like, terrible, inconsistent gold border run with Avatar of Wrath as my DPS, but it wasn't very good, and, like, genuinely for probably, like, way over a year, this has been, like, my only gold border Chimps run. And gold border, of course, being if you beat it while, like, exiting to home to retry stuff. And yeah, I'd, like, struggled it a lot even back then. And I mostly prefer to just get the black borders, because it's cooler and, you know, harder, more impressive, more satisfying. And this map is just, like, my nemesis. It was just that one map I never could get done, because this map is quite difficult. Like, the paths are not that long, and there's 2 of them, so. But yeah, anyway. To talk strategy, I guess, I mean, the early game is just a bunch of darts and snipers, along with Sai as my hero. Sai is very, very good, if you weren't aware of that. Especially on the harder maps. It's a bit interesting why, but I'll probably talk about that later. Yeah, honestly, the early game on this map is kind of a bitch. Like, it's not that bad. I mean, if you were paying attention at the very start, I, like, lost round 7, and there's, like, 10 minutes of me failing in the first couple rounds before this successful run, because the placements are all pretty tight to, like, actually survive. You need your darts in pretty precise places. I guess also, I probably should have mentioned this, like, first and foremost, but this is not in any way, shape, or form intended to be, like, a guide for how to do this. It's just a showcase of how I did it. And, you know, I might still get a comment from some 5-year-old saying, this guide is terrible, when it's not supposed to be a guide, but who knows. I'm curious how this video will do, if, like, anyone at all ever will watch it. But yeah. The strategy is, like, simple. I, like, tried this map at several other points, but I, like, could not figure out a consistent, like, early game. But this time around, I have a fair bit more, like, knowledge now. It's just darts and snipers and ninja eventually. And stuff into, like, spike factories, kind of mid-game defense. The strategy is, like, definitely not optimal. There's certainly easier ways to do it, but this is just the strategy that I could figure out. Yeah, I guess that's also an important thing to mention. I basically don't use guides at all, because, I mean, it's literally a tower defense game. Like, the entire game is figuring out a strategy, so just copying someone else's strategy, it sounds like the most boring thing in the universe, so I don't really do that ever, so this is basically all just stuff what I could figure out for myself, not, like, the best way to do it by any means. The one exception is, like, I will sometimes for early games, like, just check how someone else does it, because especially on, like, harder maps than this, like, the early game can be so dumb. On CHIMPS mode, at least. Yeah, this was, like, rated an advanced difficulty map, but there's also the whole expert difficulty with even harder maps than this, with, like, more lanes and shorter tracks and, like, line-of-sight blockers and stuff. And yeah, like, literally on Bloody Puddles, which I think is usually considered, like, one of, if not the hardest map in the game, like, the way to beat round 6 is literally pixel-perfect placements for a dart and a sub, and even then, you can just lose to RNG. It's not even guaranteed to work if you have the right pixels, so like, there is no universe where I'm gonna fucking figure out what the pixels are myself. Like, I'm obviously just gonna look up how someone else does the early game, because there's so few things that can work on, like, the hardest maps in the game. It's obviously not worth my time to do that. Round 36 here always looks, like, insanely sketchy. Like, I totally feel like I should be leaking to this round, but I've never leaked to it, even on any of my practice runs. It just always barely works. I get down to, like, 1 spike, but it just works for some reason. Yeah, you probably could lose with bad RNG, and that's probably an interesting talking point, is even though this is, like, a tower defense game, there is a surprisingly large amount of just luck. In more places than you would expect, like, some things, it kind of makes sense that, for example, my 2 spike factories at the back, they just put a spike somewhere random. But more things than that, it's, like, also, that ninja I have at the back, who has the shurikens that, like, bounce around a bit, that is also in some way luck-based. Which, I don't really know why, but, like, any seeking projectile is somewhat RNG-based, which doesn't exactly make any sense to me, but it's a thing. And also, there is, of course, a fast-forward mode, but it doesn't, like, actually... It doesn't just, like, speed up the things that are happening. It does it in some weird way that you can lose rounds on fast-forward that you don't without fast-forward. So that's why, honestly, I play like most of this early game without fast forward, which does make it take a while, but I don't want to just lose to RNG. I could have obviously tested this like a lot more, but again, it's not like this is a guide. I just want to be able to do it once, so I do kind of like overcompensate and play a bit safer because I didn't know like everything that could possibly happen, because I mean I don't need to for a map like this, but I also spend a long fucking time just like randomly waiting, making sure I like remember what I'm doing, the things I'm doing next, and some ability timings and all. This run is like really long in large part because I just like sit around doing nothing for a bit. I guess I don't know what else to talk about. Discuss the strategy a bit. Spiked balls are good. They're like, some people, it's really easy to think of these things as just kind of like a safety net, but like with a couple like buffs, and like they genuinely can just like carry you for a while until you can afford stronger upgrades. The ability timings for like size stun are somewhat important. Like, I don't think they're ever like too strict, but like, and in fact, I use it like a lot even when I probably don't need to, but again, I just don't want to like lose to some random edge case, so just do it to overcompensate a bit. I take so long to place this alchemist because this is kind of an important thing, is I'm going for the alchemist buffing upgrade, which they throw this potion that increases like damage, pierce, and attack speed and stuff of whatever tower they're buffing, which are really good. Especially, spike factories are actually kind of insane with alchemist buffs, because they make like, the way spike factories work is they like place a spike pile, and like whenever a balloon hits the spike pile, it'll like take up one of its pierce, and they have like 5 to 10, so it can pop like 10 balloons. But then when you give it an alch buff, every time a balloon hits the spike, it'll do an extra point of damage, as well as having like, I forget if it's like 2 or 3 more pierce, so like the potential damage doesn't just like more than doubles. It goes from like 10 potential damage unbuffed to like 24 or 26 per spike, and you know, they throw out a whole bunch of spikes, so it's pretty good. Yeah, and also I think what I was trying to get to with that was the alchemists, they can buff like a certain number of targets, and it's in some cases it's actually kind of important that you don't accidentally place like more targets in their range, so they'll actually like properly focus the alch buff on the tower you want to buff. I mean, it's not particularly useful to alch buff like my base dart monkey that I just needed for the early game. It's not gonna help me win very much, so that's kind of why I was so careful placing that first alchemist, because I was trying to make sure it wasn't in range of this sniper I'm upgrading right now, because I also needed to buff another tower late game, but we'll get there eventually. But yeah, if you like know BTD6, this probably like won't be surprising what's happening right now. Spiked balls, and I'm just going for a main Moab and elite sniper, which those are very good upgrades in every way. So yeah. Again, I'm stunning some random stuff that I probably don't really need to, but yeah. So I'm going main Moab first, because the mid-game Moabs are pretty scary without it. Like, I don't really have like any Moab damage outside of like the spiked balls if I don't get the MAME, so it's pretty important. Because yeah, you can see it just stuns these things and it makes all of these like basically free. Need to be a little careful with it sometimes, but yeah. And yeah, I'm going for another alk buff for these two towers, because, you know, I mean, damage, fierce, and attack speed, it's good on literally any tower, but it is tend to, on average, be better with, like, fast firing and, like, lower damage towers, such as the bouncing bullet sniper is good with it. And obviously, main Moab isn't really the same because it already has very high base damage, but the Pierce is very good, so it can stun more Moabs per shot. And, like, attack speed is literally always good. So yeah. 420 Alchemist, so I forgot if I said this already, but like the 3rd tier alk buff will like only buff one target, but when you buy 4th tier, they can buff 2. And yeah, cross-pathing is a little funky. Sometimes you want 420, sometimes you want 401. I don't feel like explaining the situations when, but I want the 420 right now so that it only buffs these two towers. If you get a 401, then it would sometimes like throw the alk buff onto like the ninja or something, and I do not want that. I only want it buffing the two snipers. So yeah, not much else to say about the mid-game. I'm just gonna be upgrading to supply drop and elite sniper. It is pretty... It should really say something about this tower that I'm going for an ability that makes money, even though in CHIMPS mode you cannot make any extra money. If I were to use that crate ability, it would give me $0. But just the damage this thing provides is good enough that it's still worth getting, even when you can't get money from it, so... And this is this thing, like, after several nerfs. Well, not really this thing, but the 5th tier, once I get that up, has been nerfed a fair few times in, like, price. I don't remember if it's gotten, like, damage nerfs at any point, but it has gotten more expensive, so it's a little less. So it's not as, like, auto of a win. Have to spend a bit more effort into actually getting it up, but it's fine. Round 63 here is pretty easy. I just use Size Scream the first wave, and I probably don't even need to stun the second wave. I'm sure Spiked Balls and Supply Drop would beat it, but I just do it to be safe. So yeah, that's kind of why Sai is such a strong hero, is just that level 10 ability. It literally just... I lost my train of thought, but it literally just automatically kills like half or more of the things on screen that he can target. And the other half that it doesn't instantly kill just like gets knocked back, so it is a really strong ability. You can see I have auto start on now because the rest of these rounds up to like 80 something are basically free. Like, things look like they get far, but spike balls can tank a decent amount of things leaking. And these rounds are just really easy. The kind of balancing of this game is interesting, like, especially with how the, like, money works and just the Bloons that come out. There is there's kind of like a steady ramp of like, you'll see a couple like new strong balloons, and like you'll kind of slowly start to see more of them. Well, there's kind of a difficulty spike around 60 with the first BFB, and then you start seeing like a lot more Moabs, and then the first two F Moabs. Fortified balloons having double the HP of normal ones, which are pretty scary. You can tell they're fortified, they've got the like bands around them. You might or might not have noticed. And yeah, and then there's round 63 is just so many ceramics. Round 63 is kind of the like the casual player killer basically. Because there's just so many ceramics. Like, there are pretty easy ways to beat it, but if you don't know what you're doing, you will just lose to it if you, like, don't plan for it properly. Even if it's easy with the right plan, it's easy to, like, forget about it, or just not have your guard up. So yeah, now I've got Elite Sniper, it attacks a lot faster. And it also buffs the attack speed of other snipers, which is only my main mod, but that's still very useful. And yeah, the next 10 rounds are completely free. I'm pretty sure I literally, like, got up to use the washroom during this part, because nothing happens here. None of these rounds are at all close to leaking. I'm just waiting for the rounds where I actually need to do something. I think I was talking about, like, the rounds, and yeah, because there's 63, and 64 is kind of, like, sneaky. 63 is, like, the infamous, like, difficulty spike round, but, like, 64 can honestly be harder in a lot of cases, because it's, like, the most clumped Moabs that appear to that point, and, like, 3F Moabs, so, like, that round can absolutely just be harder than 63, depending on what your defense is. But then after that, like, genuinely, 65 to 75 are completely free. Like, if your defense can beat 63 and 64, you could probably just AFK up to 75. Then 75, it kind of difficulty spikes again. Because there's, like, stacked BFBs. It looks a little different on this map because there's multiple lanes at once, but if it's a single lane map, then there's like 3 BFBs on top of one another, so it like only looks like one, but there's actually 3, and that can catch you off guard. And then round 76 is a stack of like regrow ceramics, which again, it's a lot like 63. So is 78. Those are just the 3 big like ceramic rush rounds, but I don't even need my abilities for it, but size level 10 ability would destroy most of the wave anyway, if I wasn't using an Elite Sniper. And round 78 has a second ceramic rush of camo balloons, but that is not an issue for my towers. And round 79 too, regrow rainbows. Regrow balloons, if it's not obvious from the name, can regenerate their layers back up to whatever they were if you don't damage them fast enough, but I of course am damaging them fast enough, so it's just fine. And also, of course, this round has the first fortified BFBs, which can be a little scary, but, I mean, not that bad. Now round 80, first Zoom G. It's really easy with a main Moab, because it just gets stunned and it's moving at, like, 0 miles per hour. But yeah, it's not very scary. And yeah. Next few rounds give us a lot of cash. That's another very, like, interesting thing about how this game's money works, is at certain rounds it does just, like, cut the amount of money you get per balloon popped. Which, I mean, obviously, that's just to offset, like, how many balloons there are. Like, if you always got $1 for every balloon popped, you would get, like, probably $500,000 by round 100, and it would be, like, easy. But yeah, the like, point that they happen is interesting. I think it's, like, round 50 is the first time it gets cut to, like, $0.50 per pop. And then again at round 60, it gets cut down to, like, 0.2. But then it doesn't get dropped down again until round 85. And what that results in is, like, round 75 to 85 is where they kind of start to send out a lot more balloons. Those give you a ton of money compared to, like, the next rounds, because right now I'm still making the, like, round 60 amount of money per pop, and it gets cut down again after 85, but these rounds give you so much money. Like, you literally get, like, something in the ballpark of $50,000 between 75 and 85. And then you kind of don't get very much for the next, like, 5 to 10 rounds until you get the huge super dense rounds in the 90s, so it's a fascinating design choices, and I mean, it's worked, so. So yeah, you can now see, now that I'm actually back at my computer and paying attention to the game, because I did not need to in the 70s, but I kind of do now. You can see I'm going to be buying a Sky Shredder for my, like, main DPS carry. And here is another showcase of why Psy is broken as hell, honestly. Yeah, at certain levels they get the ability to target Moabs and BFBs, and then you can just scream and, like, kill the entire round, and leave, like, enough, and leave, like, so little behind that whatever else you have can just easily deal with it, so Psy is really good for that ability. And I think I mentioned earlier how, like, Psy is so much better on, like, advanced and expert maps, because if you didn't know this, heroes do, like, level up automatically, and they level up faster on harder maps, so if I was playing this on a beginner map, like, obviously it's still, like, easier because the track is longer, but, like, Psy wouldn't be able to target Moabs, like, yet, probably not until, like, round 90. And, like, in this game, he can target BFBs and start, like, carrying most of the 90s from round 92. But, like, on a beginner map, he, like, won't be able to take out BFBs probably ever. So, like, Psy in particular is, like, dramatically better on harder maps, which is interesting. Like, a lot more so than other heroes, because he has such, like, they have such, like, extreme power spikes at certain levels. But yeah, as you can see, now I have a Sky Shredder. This tower is insanely good. This isn't even its full potential, because, like, it shoots out a lot of darts really fast, and they do a lot of damage. You can see, whenever it, like, swipes past that bottom lane, it just, like, kills everything on it. The thing is gonna do most of the damage to, like, break down Zoom Gs and clean stuff up with Psy abilities to support it. Yeah, you can see just, like, it's pretty clear to see, like, how much damage this thing can do when it, like, swipes right over the Zoom G. I really like this tower, it's really fun. I like that it's actually good, too. Some towers are, like, fun to use, but they're also, like, terrible, and there's not really, like, a good time or reason to use them ever, but this tower is both satisfying and actually extremely powerful. I wonder if that's picking up on the mic. Currently, my dog is, like, curling up in my bed. I wonder if the, like, sounds he was making there are being picked up. I guess I'll find out later. Anyway, round 90, first DDTs. Those are sneaky because they're Moabs, but they move very fast, and they also have a whole bunch of immunities. Like, they count as lead Bloons and black Bloons, so you can't damage them with, like, you can't damage them with anything, like, sharp or any explosions. Which, you might be thinking, then why is this ace working? But this ace... I mean, really, it's practically just random what towers can damage what balloons at, like, high tiers. Sky Shredder can damage any balloon type. Doesn't matter what it is, the darts will always damage it. Then there's also, like, the balloon exclusion zone that can't pop lead, even though it's, like, $80,000, which is a lot more than the Sky Shredder. Still not quite sure why that needs that weakness. But yeah, so we're in the 90s now. Sky Shredder is doing a lot of work. Sai, I think, yeah, this is round 92. I think Sai can hit BFBs now, which is a big deal. I'm just getting a last bit of support of Bloon Sabotage to slow down DDTs, and then I'll get an Overclock to just boost up Sky Shredder damage for the last couple rounds. I have occasionally, like, microed my main Moab to first. Usually you just want it on strong. But there are cases like these when there's, like, the fast Moabs coming out when you actually want to be stunning those rather than the, like, Zoom Gs. And also I remembered to... yeah. I think I mentioned earlier how I need that one Alchemist to also buff something else, that being my Sky Shredder. I also have a Cryo Cannon up top to help catch ceramics, because I find, like, I just took the default centered path spot, and, like, top lane I found was usually, like, got farther and was scarier, because Sky Shredder just had a, like, better angle on bottom lane than top lane, so I just get that to help if anything leaks. It's not, I don't need to, like, buy that fast. There's definitely a fair bit of, like, wiggle room with this strategy. It's not like you need to be this perfect. I also don't know why I'm saying this, because this isn't supposed to be a guide. Like, I mean, maybe you could get this strategy to work for you, but I probably wouldn't recommend it. And you can now kind of see, like, there's a lot of balloons there, and Sai can just kill most of them, which is incredibly strong. It's so, like, OCD of me to, like, move the cleansing foam there. It literally doesn't matter at all. Literally all of my damaging towers, like Sai, the snipers, the spike factories, and the ace can all see camo anyway. I don't know why I moved that, but funny little habit of mine, I guess. Yeah. Round 95 here is 30 DDTs, which is a lot of DDTs. The wave goes on for so long. But Sky Shredder can handle it with the Sabo to slow it all down. This is one of the, like... this is, like, the hard round on beginner maps. It's, like, 95, 98, 99, and around 100 are, like... for most strategies, those will be, like, the hardest rounds on easy maps. It is kind of interesting how it works, because, like, honestly, on harder maps, like this one, the, like, hardest or closest round, I feel like, is usually just some, like, random, like, 60s or 80s round. Because, like, you... I don't know why my brain is tripping over this so much, but... Because you just... Wow, I didn't actually... I got down to like a 1 spiked ball at the top there. That was sketchy. Yeah, this round 96 is actually a bit sketchy. I screamed way too early. I should have... Yeah, okay, well, my stun was on cooldown. I guess that's probably why I did that. But yeah, like, all the Zoom Gs are still out. But it's fine. Anyway, I was trying to say something of, like, oftentimes the hardest round in, like, a harder map can just be, like, the round before you afford your big tier 5 or, like, your big carry, because obviously the difference in power between an ODS and a Sky Shredder is extreme. So, when you don't have the Sky Shredder, there can sometimes be, like, really sketchy rounds before you get it that are harder than whatever these last rounds are. But yeah. This right now is just me, like, being nervous and trying to, like, calm down and think, make sure I don't, like, do something in the wrong order. I have my overclock now, which just greatly increases the attack speed of whatever thing you choose. This overdrive is actually for round 100, but I just get it now, because why not? I guess it'll do a little extra damage. Round 97's really easy anyway. It's 2 fortified Zoom Gs, which do have a lot of health, but Sky Shredder is good, and Main Moab stalls them a lot, so it's just 2 of them, so they're really not scary at all. And also, Sai just instantly one-shots, like, most of the insides. But yeah, come up to round 98 here. This is, like, the biggest round. It has the most Bloons of anything. I think there's literally, like, the RBE, which is Red Bloon equivalency. Basically, just the total amount of health on this round is, like, 300,000 or something insane like that. It's 8 Zoom Gs and 30 fortified BFBs. Like, there's just so many Bloons, it, like, overwhelms a lot of strategies. Like, there's a good reason why this round is, like, so hard. But also see here how broken Sai is, because, yeah, now most of it's gone. Like, Sai's just straight up instant killing, like, probably 80k RB right there. Yeah. 98 is not really sketchy with this strategy. I do, like, need to use abilities, so I guess it could technically be easier, but it's pretty good. The Sticky Bomb is perhaps the one remotely sketchy thing about this strategy is just round 100, because I don't really have, like, any bad popping power other than my Sky Shredder, so I get this overdrive and Sticky Bomb to just do a bit more damage. You can win without it, like, I did win one of my challenge editor runs without any extra round 100 DPS, but the bad pop literally, like, 1 second from the exit, and I didn't quite want to do that in my Black Border run. I think that was me literally just pressing escape instead of, like, Sai's stun. I just straight up, like, pressed the wrong key for that. Yeah, those were fortified DDTs. They can technically be scary because they're fast and have a lot of health. And this again is just, let me just make sure the bad pops as early as possible. Like, I am really nervous at this point. Black bordering can be stressful, because I don't get a redo if I, like, mess this up in some way, so there is a lot of pressure, and especially because these runs take a while. I mean, this has been, like, 40-minute video or something already, and that's kind of 40 minutes just down the drain if this doesn't work. So that's kind of why I was extra careful with everything, and also why I was, like, nervous and taking my time to, like, think things out. But yeah, this is the bad. It has a lot of health, and also it crucially cannot be slowed down or stunned in any way. And now it pops, and we already won here because we just scream as soon as the Zoom Gs pop, and the run is GG from here. Victory $0 cash crate. And that is my Mesa Chimps Black Border, I guess. I hope you somehow found that interesting. I don't really know. I kind of rambled a whole lot, but who knows? Maybe it was good. I don't know. I'm just happy I finally got this done. I no longer have that one singular gold border. I've got all my Chimps medals as black borders now. I think I go show it off now. Mesa black border. Very happy, very satisfied with that.